With everything going on, I mean, it looks almost apocalyptic when you look at these major snowstorms hitting certain areas. Then you see fires hitting certain areas. Devastating earthquake threatened California, but it hit Mexico. I mean, it's almost like biblical proportions here. Now, does that mean the world's coming to an end? Not necessarily. But what do we find out from disaster and crisis? Well, what we found out that in North Carolina, the government has not really assisted to a point of actually taking care of people. They've given them extra hotel stays, they've given them tents, they've given them a little money, but ultimately people are still suffering. What do we see in California? Insurance is backing out of a lot of the claims, just like they did in North Carolina. The government is so-called helping, but actually what they've done is they've taken the tax dollars that people have paid in, instead of actually giving it to fire needs and making sure that this stuff wouldn't happen. It's happened and the reservoirs are not filled, although all those paychecks are going. So what we've seen is insurance and government, the things that are supposed to help us through tough times, hasn't helped us. We were watching Beast of Philanthropy last night, and there was people that had amputated legs, and that a YouTuber like Mr. Beast was having to go in and help. So we have a broken healthcare system. I mean, every part of our life, we look to something and we pay for somebody and we hope that everything is going to work out to a point where all these things that we've purchased and done and believe in when government, that we could just go throughout life and they're going to take care of us. Well, what crisis has shown us is that's not the case. Today we're going to jump into 10 things that I would have on hand and making sure that you can utilize when crisis strike. Now that means it could be something as simple as bugging in for bad storms. It could be something as simple as bugging out for bad times when things like fires are coming. It could be the fact of you don't know what's going on, but having these things are good for blackouts. Having these things are good for storms. Having these things are good for cities in panic. Today we're going to discuss 10 things that you need to get today, especially as we get closer to an administration that the world doesn't approve of and the bureaucracy of America doesn't approve of. What's going to happen? Get these things before even the inauguration. Let's have it. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. It does mean the world to us, and we humbly ask that you do that. That helps us spread our message across this platform, and hoping that you can find peace as you go through this crazy world. And we need to take care of our families, and that is the point of today's video. It is a prepping video. I want to make sure that you have the things that we could make sure to cover if all of a sudden any of these things happened in your neck of the woods. You know, you may not be in the line of hurricanes, but you may be in the line of storms like tornadoes. You may not be in the line of fires, but you may be in the winter storms. You may have blackouts because of a weak grid in your area, things that you may not can handle, but things happen. And we've seen just this last 2 or 3 weeks, the amount of crises that's taking place. Oh yeah, by the way, NATO is moving more ships over to areas that are now trying to guard from China. So not only are we trying to pick a fight with Russia, like Romania and like Ukraine and like Poland, now we're going with NATO into the China Sea. There's a lot that can take place. Today we're going to talk about 10 things that you need to have so that way these things won't affect you as much. So number 1, you need cash on hand. Now, the reason I say cash on hand is because if you had to bug out, or you're bugging in, or you simply have to get somewhere, say on at night or weekends when banks are not open, and the fact is, what we've seen with a lot of problems like in California, because the networks were down, other than Starlink coming in, if you needed to utilize something on your phone, such as your Apple Pay, or such as your digitized wallets, or such as your cryptos, or such as your bank accounts, you could not access them because the cellular network was down. So you need to have some cash on hand, because no matter if you're bugging in, bugging out, you need to be able to have that security to know that you do have some kind of money to be able to pay for things and to buy things. And also, if you had to leave, you're not having to run to a bank or having to worry about cell phone service to get you there safely. Make sure you have some cash on hand. Number 2, you need to have alternative ways of transportation. Now, what does this mean? We can walk, yeah, I know. But not only do you need a car, what about bikes? What about scooters? What about side-by-sides? What about four-wheelers? What about off-road needs? Now this sounds stupid, but there's a lot of places in cities where people don't even have a way of transportation. They use public transit. Well, what have we seen with government? Have they really been that dependable when it comes to the cities in chaos and the panic and the riots? I mean, look at New York, the public transit, you're literally going to get mugged if you go down there to the subways almost. And then also, if you depend on the government to get you somewhere safe, what if they don't want you going somewhere safe? What if they have you right where they want you to be? You need to have a mode of transportation. So if you don't have a car, okay, find a bike or a scooter. If you have a car, then find ways to make sure that you have another maybe form of transportation. It may be something as simple as a little off-road scooter. It may be something as simple as a bike. Having a way to get somewhere safely that's not walking is a good thing. You may not believe this, but a bike will get you somewhere about 5 times faster than walking. And that's just normal pedaling. So what I'm saying is, why not take the advantage of having some other kind of mode of transportation if you had to get somewhere safely? Also, the thing about having something that is mechanical, such as an older vehicle, as long as you have some fuel, you can get where you're going no matter what happens with the EMP blast or blackout. Secondly, if you don't have gas and you have a newer vehicle, that's where a bike would come in handy. Also, like my kids, they have these high-powered scooters. They're actually called city scooters. What they are is they plug into a regular wall outlet, but then when they go, they can go up to 20 or 30 miles per hour. Now, those scooters are fun for the kids to ride around, but thinking-wise, every one of them can be broken down and put in a 2 to 3 foot window, put in our trailer, and we have a way to then maneuver where we need to be. Now, people say, well, how are you going to charge them if it's a blackout? There you go. Number 3, you need alternative energy. Now, yes, you need gas. Yes, you need diesel. Yes, you need propane. We have all those. You need to make sure you're buying those in bulk. I mean, literally in bulk. If you can get a tank, such as a big propane tank, get it at your home. If you have the portable ones, that's great, because if you are bugging out, you have ways to carry that propane with you. So, for instance, when we go on vacation, or when we go out of town, or for instance, bugging out, we have a trailer and we carry a charcoal grill, we carry a propane grill, and then we carry like this little propane cooktop. Now, that's great. It's good to have the propane to be able to maneuver, and also the charcoal to be able to heat. Now, what else could be alternative energy? Well, it would be a solar generator. So we're talking about those electric scooters. Those scooters charge, they're like trickle charges, but at the same time, they do not use a lot of energy. So we bought the ones that pretty much plug in like a computer or laptop or a cell phone, so that way it charges, it holds its energy, you can turn it down to where it won't burn as much energy, and you can literally charge them with our solar generator that we keep in our car. Isn't that crazy? So having a form of alternative energy is good. Now, let's go to the winter storms right here. I have a propane generator, and on my other channel, Life with Kobe Mack, you'll see me actually fixing a battery on that generator. So I'm always checking it to make sure it's ready. That is a battery generator ran with propane. Then I have 2 gas generators. Those gas generators run off unleaded fuel. It's good to have, it's good to know that they're there. Then I have heaters that run off kerosene, propane, and diesel. So I've just talked about 4 or 5 different alternative fuels, and I want to make sure I have all those. Now, that's not counting the wood and charcoal that I have for heating and for cooking as well. So you need to have other forms of energy or electricity, so that way you are not put in a bad position. Now, this is not only for bugging in at your home for winter storms. What if you're bugging out, like in California? It'd be nice to know that you can carry those things with you wherever you go. So that's why a car is important, a trailer is important, a form and that's why transportation is good if you can find it. Again, going back to transportation, we find old vehicles. We find old vehicles and restore them. I have an old military vehicle that's pretty much just a tin can, but it could get me wherever I need to go, off-road, on-road, and hauling, whatever I need. Number 4 is food. Now, I'd have all kinds of food. Have some in the freezers, but remember that means you have to have a generator. Have some in some form of fresh food, of course. Growing food, great. But what am I talking about when I'm talking prepping? Freeze-dried food, by far. Dehydrated, canned food, all those are good. But I want to go back to freeze-dried. Freeze-dried is all you need is water and the food. Now, what I would do is make sure you have at least 3 days worth of freeze-dried food for each person. Now, that is minimal. For instance, for us, we shoot for 7 years worth of food for each person. But you need to at least go and buy a tub of freeze-dried food for 48 to 72 hours each. no matter if you're bugging in or bugging out. That is food and sustenance that you need for your body to have energy. We talked about having alternative fuel, but if you can't eat and you don't have food and you don't have availability to it, what's the point in having fuel? You have to have food. So freeze-dried food is a great purchase. Now people say, well, it's a little high. Well, I mean, it can be, but you need to have some. It's, again, shelf stable. I like, for instance, we buy from Legacy Food and My Patriot Supply. That's just the two we've bought from for years. Now I've bought from Nutrient Survival. I've bought from other places too for Patriots, but we just tend to buy. I like the Legacy Food or the My Patriot Supply because they're easy. Those totes are where they can stack, but they can be also put in cars and trailers really quick. I like how they are built. They gives you calories, and also it takes hardly no preparation to make a meal. That's important, especially with the people that are now on the roads with no home in North Carolina and California. Also for people like that's dealing with this, like the Texas storm, they said they're out of power. Some of those places will be out of power for days, even some weeks. So if all you had to have was a little water to mix up and make some food, you may not like it, but of course it's energy and calories. Number 5 is water. You need stackable brick water, meaning you need ways to put up water for long-term storage. This could help you, of course, with your freeze-dried foods, but also it helps you knowing that you have water for your body and also hygiene. The average American uses around 3 to 5 gallons a day individually for necessity, for cleaning, for drinking, for eating, and for hygiene. Now, you could probably get by with 1 to 3, but ultimately you have to have water. You have to drink it, but you have to keep clean. Your body is an organ. I mean, your skin is needing not to break down, and you need hygiene. What about brushing your teeth? Things like that. You have to have water. What we've done is we buy the Legacy stackable water bricks. They're called bricks because literally they just stack to each other. And then we have a little spigot for it. You can utilize it however you want. Now, if you go to Walmart and you buy bottled water, you buy those little jugs of water, that's economic. That's great. Keep doing that. But remember, that is the cheapest plastic that those bottles can be in. That's actually not good for you. They're not BPA free, so they're contaminating your water over time, especially if they're in there for a long period of time. Remember, those containers were meant to just hold it for a temporary hold. That's why if you hold them for about 6 to 8 months, you'll be honest with you, you're going to have leaks on the plastic because the plastic is just made of very cheap material. So if you're buying that, okay, but let's look at long-term storage for longevity that's going to be there. Food grade, food safe plastic that is made for long-term storage, that is made to hold water for 20 years, or let's make sure that we have some kind of way to either can our water. I know that sounds crazy, but putting water up on the shelves in cans and glasses, making sure you have it. Now, we also have non-potable water. We catch rainwater. We also have creeks. We have ponds. For people like me, that's pretty easy. We have a well that we can hand pump. We have a hand pump for our well. Again, easy. But we live in the South Flatlands in a very humid area. For you that lives in dry climates and you that lives in mountainous range, you may not have those things. So it's even more important for you to put up water. Again, we talked about 3-4 days worth of food at least. Water, if you're putting up 2 to 3 days worth of water, then you're putting up 5 gallons per person per day. That could be a lot of water, but ultimately it's good to have. We have 55-gallon jugs of water too. Don't be afraid to put up water. It's life. Number 6, you're on medicine, aren't you? I imagine 90% of the people that's watching is on some kind of medicine or supplements. Well, 2 things. You need to buy some over-the-counter meds, and you need to have some supplements and some what we call super greens or super reds, or having an all-in-one supplement. That way, what you're missing, the stress, the anxiety, maybe the caloric deficit that you're taking in, you're getting what your body needs. If it's vitamins, or if it's magnesium, or whatever it may be. Supplements, great. Over-the-counter meds, great. What about prescriptions? Every time I pass a pharmacy, or I go to Walmart, or go to some kind of grocery that's got some kind of tied to a pharmaceutical agent, people are everywhere in lines trying to get medicine. Now, yes, talk to your doctor, see if you can get more. But if you can't get more than a 20, 30, 40, 50-day supply extra, then why don't you talk to Jace Medical or some other form of emergency medicine? You can do a telecommunication thing online. Basically, buy some extra medicine to have. Like, for instance, in our Jace case, we have things like for bacteria, we have things for sicknesses, we have things for parasites. We have things like special medicines like ivermectin. We have since we own bees, we have EpiPens. We've bought a lot of stuff like that to get us through tougher times when we don't want to or can't get to a doctor. It's not about just having it just because we're lazy and want to go to the doctor. The people in California are not going to the pharmacy this week. The people in North Carolina, they may be going to the pharmacy, but they may be lining up for days to try to get in to get their stuff. So having some emergency medicine is important. Jace has a Jace case, which is emergency medicine, for like $260, $270. You get a percentage off if you use the link below, but use whoever you want to. But these same companies offer what they call Jace Daily. It can be expensive, but remember, if it's life-sustaining medicine, then you may need it. You may have to just, swallow it hard and buy the medicine. So have some extra medicine just in case, because if your life especially is dependent on it, you better have those things. Now, medicine also talks about medical devices. We're not on we have no health problems in our family, as in like that's needing protocols. However, we have a nebulizer. We have an oxygen tank. We have masks. We have all these things that we necessarily don't need, but I have because medically, if I had to use them, I want to be able to use them. I have an old video, it's like 2 years ago that me and Misty made. It's on first aid and medical supply. You need to go check it out. It's like we have a mini hospital in our house. Why? Because I don't want to have to run somewhere if we can't, or if they're all burned down like in California, where am I going to go? So have some things like pharmaceuticals and some medical supply. Number 7, sadly you have to defend all this. We don't live in a perfect world. So in these crises, North Carolina and in California, guess what has happened? Looting, stealing, thieving, and people taking advantage of you. Well, you better make sure that you can protect all the things that you have and protect your family. And also, you may not be the house that bug out. You may be the fact that you're still living there because you were not, entangled in whatever situation is going on. Well, what if they don't know that and they break into your home? Can you protect your home? So things like brass, self-defense tools are excellent. You need to make sure that you're trained with them and have the knowledge to utilize them. Also, that's an asset, it's an investment. They never go down in value, and they're always good to have. Make sure you have a self-defense projectile provider, I guess you could say, that will work. If you don't have something to protect yourself, then you are a sitting duck in a pond waiting for the lightning to strike or waiting for the hunter to take you out. Make sure that you have self-defense tools. You got to. If you don't, you'll be in a bind. Number 8, a toolkit. We don't think of it's important, but just like my battery going out on my generator, just like things have to do maintenance around here. If you don't have the necessities just to simply have a few wrenches, a few screwdrivers, a hammer, and some just basic things to fix, then you'll be in a bind. Now, if you don't know how to fix things right now, when you may have availability to internet and access, you need to get on YouTube and learn how to find information about fixing things at your own home. There's things that, because of time, I hire out. I'm like, hey, I need this done. Can you help me get this done? There's times people help me. But ultimately, if I have to fix something or do something, just like the other day in the winter storm, I'm fixing a battery. No one wanted to come out at 20 degrees and try to fix my generator. Did I do it? Yes. Does that mean I like to do it? No. But I had the tools to fix what I needed to get done what had to be done to take care of my family. So having a toolkit, a basic toolkit. I carry this, I have several tools, but I have a toolkit for my home, I have a toolkit for my vehicles. Each vehicle has everything it needs to make sure that if we're on the side of the road, we have a breakdown. The simplest of tools could help you out of a major jam. So number 8, having tools is a necessity. Number 9, communication. Communication. My Starlink is completely portable. So I can take it with me wherever I go, or I can keep it here. And remember, even in the war zone, like Ukraine, even in the problems of California, North Carolina, you know who's given access to communication? Starlink. Satellite version internet. Now, whatever you think about Elon, love or hate him, ultimately he has provided something that is good. So I have communication. Starlink, if you're like, I don't need that, what about a satellite phone? What about a satellite pager? Satellite phones are better because it's better communication. You can call and hopefully get someone on the other end. But what about the little satellite texter or pager? They make those, they're about half price. So you can text over the network instead of call over the network. A great investment. What about a CB? or some kind of radio like a ham radio. Now people are like, oh, you gotta have a license for that. If I'm in destruction and a disaster zone, do you think I care about what kind of licensures the government wants me to have? And plus that's getting more information of mine? Come on. CBs, ham radios, satellite phones, satellite internets are all good to have. Cell phones has not worked. Radio frequencies in some areas, because of the storms and winds, has not worked. But satellite phones and satellite internet has. So you better find ways of communication. Number 10. This is the most important. The reason I put it this is because I want to close out with this. I can have all the things I need physically. I can have all the preps I've done mentally to make sure that I've covered every basis. But the one thing that we have to make sure that we are prepared for is the stress and emotional problems it's going to give you with losing a home, without not knowing where your family member is, not having communication sometimes, having to run, go. The crisis of someone coming in your home. All that stuff is a mind-boggling thing. So we have to spiritually prepare. Number 10, you need a Bible. You need to spiritually make sure you're prepared for these kind of things. We live in a very fallen world. And not only do we see natural disasters, we see human disasters. We see wars. We see chaos. We see riots. We see just the dangers of living. No matter all the stuff that we have, it's great. But without a head knowledge and a skill set, things are not going to be good. Well, that also comes down to spiritually preparing. We can stress and anxiety and worry and fear, how all that stuff can get in our minds and bother us and cause a major problem. And then it's over. So my word to you is, have all this stuff. Have the needs. But the most important would be having God. Having wisdom and understanding that you can deal with what comes your way. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it does mean that you can be spiritually prepared. So number 10, have a Bible. Have a groundedness with Christ. And I think no matter what comes your way, you will make it and you'll be okay. The things that we have to learn is not to get bitter, is to get better. And all this stuff that's happening, when insurance lets us down, when government lets us down, when our neighbors and our stores can't get the needs that we have and like the supplies that we need, the banks can't get to our money, the cell phones won't work, what do you rely on? Yourself. And of course, spiritually, Christ. Make sure you are prepared to go through whatever it could come, because there will be scenarios in your life where the crap hits the fan. And if you have these things, it's great. But number 10, having a peace, knowing that God's going to be in control, it's going to be even better. Guys, let me know your thoughts. There's a lot going on in the world, a lot going on in Eastern Europe, a lot going on with Russia and China. The Middle East, new elections. California, North Carolina, Texas. This is not even talking about the fact that there's a new outbreak of H5N1 in a different area that's causing a major problem. We'll talk about that in the next few days. Crisis comes, and bad people like to thrive on crisis. So therefore, you need to be prepared to know that you can't rely on all this other stuff. You rely on you and, of course, your faith. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless.